Previously on Backpacker Diaries.
So I made it across the first little slippery slope here, but nothing guaranteeing that I'll not end up down in the creek there. It definitely feels nice being on the other side of this sketchy landslide area going on here. Quite a view from up here. You can see why this area justifies having its own wilderness designation as we pan back towards the Big Sur area north of where I'm at here. After I get back to Lion's Den and pack up my camp, I'm thinking that I'll try to get to the Three Peaks campsite, which is pretty close to Three Peaks, right over in that direction, more or less. It'll involve walking along an old fire road for some time that appears to go across the top of the ridge that we see over there, here in the Santa Lucia Mountains, before dropping down west towards the ocean to that Three Peaks campsite on night number 3 here. So we'll see how I go. As I'm on my way back to the Cruikshank Trail from Silver Peak, spotted something on the other side of the ridge that's a little concerning. That sort of plume of smoke there. I hope it's under control. I should be able to get a better view of whatever's going on over there once I get up to the fire road. So just hoping that's a controlled burn, not something that's going to rage out of control and burn down some forest. Cut my trip short also. Walking along the fire road on the ridge here, I walked past Lion Peak and then the Three Peaks area here. I didn't actually see a trail down to the campsite that's noted on one of the maps, so the trail must be overgrown getting into that area. I'm to a spot now that is still on a dirt road here. I could tell somebody's definitely camped here before, but seeing as how it's not quite 4 o'clock and that this campsite is on a dirt road, I'm gonna see if I can make it a little ways down that trail that I see there. Pretty sure that's the trail that leads to the Dutra Flats campground, which may be a little too far to go for tonight, but I did pack along enough water that I can dry camp tonight and not really need to filter more until tomorrow afternoon or something like that. It'll be good to get a little bit lower and a little further away from the dirt road here for tonight's camp. It'd be nice to get a little more distance between the smoke in the background there. Some fire that seems to be a little tamer than last time I saw it earlier on the ridge. Today is October 3rd, 2018. The storm system that I was waiting for finally caught up with me. Apparently it just slowed down over the ocean a little bit. I figure that I'm close enough to the car to go ahead and walk back to the car today and hopefully get off this ridge line before the thunder and lightning starts later this morning. Hopefully the trail won't be too muddy or treacherous. Yesterday I walked about 9 miles, 4 miles of that being that up and back trip to the summit of Silver Peak. After that I followed the fire trail past Lion Peak and Three Peaks before dipping down to this trail on the way to Dutra Flats Campground. Didn't make it all the way to Dutra Flats Campground, but did camp on the ridgeline last night and enjoyed a nice view looking southward over the Silver Peak Wilderness area. So we'll see how I go after I finish a little bit of coffee and hot breakfast here beneath my tent that's collecting some moisture from the rain that started falling about an hour ago. Last night I woke up kind of early and there was a wild animal outside my tent at around 2:30. The main reason I would know that is because it made some sort of a, not a growl or a meow, but it sounded like sort of a noise that would come out of like a little scrappy dog. I'm not sure I can really replicate it now, but of course, coming at 2:30 in an otherwise silent night aside from the wind, it was a little jarring, most definitely. And all I could think of to do after hearing this sort of small dog sound was to sort of answer back. In my case, it was more like a, ah! Some sort of a thing like that. And I didn't end up hearing that creature, whoever it was, again that night. I suppose they just wanted me to know they were there. I've been seeing a variety of cat scat throughout the hike, and this morning again as well. So perhaps it was a noise coming out of some sort of wildcat here in the Los Padres National Forest. What would ordinarily be an ocean view with some mountains mixed in is now just misty conditions blowing off of the ocean onto my tent and into my face a little bit. It's really not that bad at the moment, but a stark contrast to the conditions I've been enjoying for the first part of the trip here. I've reached the Dutra Flats, where the Dutra Flat campground must be, down there somewhere. I could spot the trail there, leading north back to Salmon Creek. But I'm not finding the trail that connects the one I'm on to the area down there. So it must be a bit overgrown from this side as well as the other side. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit and see if I can find it up a little higher, that connection to Dutra Flat. Thanks to some cross-country route finding, sort of bushwhacking through the grass here on the north side of the fence line, I was able to drop down and reconnect with this trail behind me that's leading north back to Salmon Creek area. Perhaps that trail that I split from would have continued and connected around with this trail that leads south, but that really didn't align with either of the maps that I had. So I'm just gonna hope for the best and be glad that I'm back on this well-defined trail. Made it back to the Salmon Creek Trail. This is actually a different trail than I started on, but the trailhead starts close to where I started the Buckeye Trail. So that's the way I'll be taking to get back to my car, down this way. So just a quarter mile off from the Spruce Creek campground, mile and a half from Estrella Camp, and 4 miles up to the South Coast Ridge Road that I passed yesterday on the upper end of the Salmon Creek Trail. Figure I've just got maybe a couple miles to go to get back to the Pacific Coast Highway. So we'll see how I go through this sweet smelling damp forest here. Coming around the bend here on the Salmon Creek Trail, we again get a view of the ocean, as well as the trailhead where I left my car at the start of the Buckeye Trail. So hopefully my car's still there. Fog seems to have lifted off of the Pacific Ocean there though, and I think I hear some day hikers coming up the trail through the trees there. So almost back to the starting point. I ended up seeing a party of 6 and then also a party of 2 that was out for the day. And I was informed that that lovely smell that I've been enjoying is the bay leaves. So nice, even the fresh ones. Apparently they're the same bay leaves that are used in cooking. Now I'm almost back to the Pacific Coast Highway here. And fortunately it's just a short hike along the road to get back to the Buckeye Trailhead by the guard station. On the short section of the Pacific Crest Trail, what a treat to come up on some wild fennel here. Love the taste of the fennel seeds, that licorice flavor. Nice little breath freshener. Said to have some medicinal properties that definitely helpful for me. After walking about 6.5 miles out back to the car today, I completed the loop that covered a little over 20 miles along the Buckeye Trail, the Cruikshank Trail, South Ridge Road, 3 Peaks Trail, and whatever the trail is that links back to the Salmon Creek Trail. And that rain on the last night gave me and my gear a nice test that I could still handle some wet conditions, albeit on my way back to the car. So that's always lower stakes as opposed to having to rough it out in the woods for another night after getting wet. Really enjoyed my first experience on a coastal range. It was a fine alternative to what potentially could have been some snowy conditions in the high alpine areas of the Sierras. This trip served as a nice test of year in advance of some backpacking that I'll be doing in Australia later this month and into next month. The Avenza app that I used, it's a free GPS app that I can definitely recommend. And the free map that I found, even though it was from the 1970s, served me well. Overall, I found the Silver Peak Wilderness a fine place to go hiking here in early fall, whether it be a day trip, an overnight, or a multi-night, as is the case with me this week. That's all for now. See you next time.
On the next Backpacker Diaries.
After exiting wombat territory, it seems that we're entering into wallaby territory. This one doesn't have a joey, but he enjoys long hops along the beach.
Make a